Hey everybody, welcome back to Film School. If you've been following this channel for some time, you probably have seen that I reviewed Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, but I went to go see it in theaters a second time, and I wanted to give some kind of impromptu thoughts about my take on the movie after a second viewing. The biggest thing that stood out to me as I walked out of the theater is that the things that I liked in the first viewing, I loved in the second. The things that I disliked in the first viewing, I kind of hated a little bit more in the second. I'm going to give a blanket spoiler warning. I'm just going to talk openly about the movie. Again, if you want to see a polished review, I would say I still agree with most everything I said in the first review. Again, my feelings just toward the things I liked and disliked are both equally a little bit stronger. So my ultimate rating for the movie overall has gone up. But I would say there's still some issues, and I could see where some people would have major issues with where Dial of Destiny goes. Now, some of the things that I really liked more on second viewing, I mean, first and foremost, it goes without saying, Harrison Ford. I think he's the reason 99.9% of people purchased a ticket is to see him return to that iconic role. I really, really enjoyed him in the movie. I liked Phoebe Waller Bridge a lot more in the second viewing. I still think the character she's playing. So I like Phoebe Waller Bridge playing the character. I didn't necessarily care for the character of Helena Shaw. Her arc worked a little bit better for me, but just a little bit better. I really think they missed the mark when it came to developing a satisfying arc for Helena Shaw. She's still very unlikable for much of the movie, and I just don't believe her storyline and the way her character is supposed to progress in the movie. And I still think it was a misstep not to have her be, like many people thought she would, be someone connected to Indy's past that we have seen before. I don't have anything against Toby Jones or the role of Basil. It shouldn't have been a new role. I think it should have been a Marcus Brody or someone like that, that's connected in some way. Now, as for the actual film itself, the opening 20-minute sequence for me stands out quite a bit. I think it did for most people. A lot of people said they would watch a full movie like that. I think Harrison Ford's performance shines through the tech, which I think is when de-aging works. Where de-aging doesn't work is when you're taking, say, a deceased actor or an actor who's not involved in the project and puppeteering them. That to me is just wrong and doesn't work. In this way, with Harrison Ford's blessing and him being involved in that process, I think is really, really good. You can see the character acting as Harrison Ford would have back in the older movies. So the de-aging worked a lot better for me. I still think that opening sequence misses a bit of the Spielberg touch, but it's a lot of fun. And I love seeing Indiana Jones back in his prime. That was unexpected. I did not expect to get 20 minutes of that, as opposed to 4 or 5. Now, the rest of the movie, I am still hit or miss on much of it. I think the CIA subplot is a little bit sloppy, and I don't care for a lot of the characters within that, cabal of villains and then the CIA operatives, and it's kind of messy. And honestly, a lot of the Moon Day stuff, like the horse chase through the parade, just feels really silly. And it's an example to me of where the franchise used to be very realistic, contained action sequences. I don't want to say realistic, actually, very contained action sequences that happened in a smaller scale. There's a lot of loose ends that come from that massive set piece within the parade. Why Indiana Jones isn't still this like notorious, guy that destroyed this parade. It was a televised event. Police were out looking for him. Like, there's a lot of things that get left there. And also, like, it's just an iconic historic moment that we all know. So, like, versus, say, Indiana Jones meeting Hitler in Last Crusade, that very well could have happened. If a character like Indiana Jones in our world was there on Moon Day and ran through the parade, we'd still be talking about that to this day. So to me, the sequence didn't make a lot of sense, and I really didn't care for the henchmen within the film. I really like the guy the huge henchman that's walking around. I think is a really intimidating kind of Jaws-like figure. James Bond Jaws, not Shark Jaws. But a lot of the other ones I just felt like were really chewing a little bit too much scenery. The female CIA agent I think is great, but she's a missed opportunity. I wish they would have given her a character more to do. There's just a lot of things like that. It's like, I wish they would have pulled this thread more. I don't know why they're pulling this thread over here. But overall, it's okay. I think the standout sequences are still the train sequence. I think it is, the deep sea diving sequence is really cool. I like the rickshaw sequence more, but Helena Shaw's, again, there were things that just kind of bugged me in those moments that felt a little too cartoonish. And again, I don't mind the Indiana Jones movies getting silly. It's just when they get cartoonish, and there's like a very fine line there that obviously I think even Spielberg tiptoed too much onto cartoonish a few times in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. But for the most part, that original trilogy, I don't feel like ever got too much where I was sitting there going, why are they doing this? And then when it comes to the ending, the time travel ending, I really dislike. I still don't like the way that it ends. I don't like the Archimedes thing. It's very, very goofy and cartoonish to me and did not work. And ultimately, what really makes that sequence not work for me, I was telling somebody just recently, like probably a week ago, I said, if they're going to go into the time travel route, which I don't want them to do, but if they're going to go there, and I do, that sequence is so long, you sit there and go, okay, this is what we're doing. I can accept it. This is where the movie's going to go. The way that they handle Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones within those scenes is really unfortunate. You have a character who, it was alluded to in Raiders of the Lost Ark. If you're buried in the sand for 1,000 years, maybe you'll be worth something. You kind of have this idea like Indiana Jones devoted his life to history, and now he's going to become part of history. That's a really cool arc. And instead, we get him getting slugged in the face by Helena, waking back up in New York, and it's kind of like, okay. And then the movie ultimately redeems itself a bit with that Marion sequence, which is very touching still. I like that sequence even more. It gets me a little misty when that scene comes on. But I just really feel like they went into this movie, they bring Indiana Jones back from a very happy ending of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, perfect send-off to the character, in my opinion, at least that final scene, even if you dislike the movie. And then we, to use an archaeological term, we dig this character back up, and it's like, for what? I really like seeing Ford in the role again. There's a lot of things that I am happy they did this movie. We get merch back in stores, all that good stuff is cool. But I just sat there going, I don't feel like they had a clear direction with where they wanted to take Indiana Jones, because ultimately kind of just go through this extra hurdle to go back to the original ending of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and give him that happy send-off once again. So anyway, that's my thoughts kind of on second viewing. I'm curious to know yours. This, again, of course, is not a super polished review, so if you want to see that, just click somewhere around this video. I have a link to it. But let me know, what were your thoughts on Indiana Jones? Have you seen it more than once? And if so, did you like it more or less the second time? Let me know in the comments.